Today on CityCast Boise, some Boise neighborhoods shout for attention, but Ustick is more of a quiet classic, very hidden in plain sight vibes. With some of the city's best coffee and well-loved parks, it's a community that rewards a closer look. We're exploring what makes Ustick so special and why it deserves more love. It's Thursday, August 28th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Joining me today is Blake Hunter, our Hey Boise newsletter editor, and Blake has been writing these neighborhood guides for neighborhoods all throughout Boise, and they just published one about the Ustick neighborhood, and these have actually been pretty popular with our podcast audience, so I wanted to have them on to break down what they found about Ustick and let us know about all the secret spots. Thanks so much for being here today, Blake.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. And before I get into this, I want to set the parameters. Ustick is a very long road. It's 40 miles. And it runs from Curtis Road all the way out to north of Homedale. It literally runs into the Snake River and then turns right. I'm talking about barely a mile or two of the easternmost mile or two of Ustick Road. And it has a very interesting history as kind of its own town site. But I'm talking about, just that specific chunk. There's not an actual neighborhood association. There's not an actual Ustick neighborhood. So I'm kind of making this up, but also I feel like the people who live there know what I mean.
It's a neighborhood that kind of has middle child energy.
Okay, say more. I like that, but go on.
Yeah, it's not maybe, when you're Boise, there are certain neighborhoods that come to the top of your mind, or it's you've got to visit there, you've got to go there. And it's not precious. It's not the new neighborhoods where we're oh, it's so new. It's so let's talk about the newness. But it's kind of steady. There's really great spots there if you know where to look, and it shines on its own. But you have to get past the downtown areas, the north end, where everyone's oh, you have to go there. That's the most Boise vibe. And it's just this, I don't know. It's always felt to me kind of like the middle child of Boise neighborhoods.
I like that. I think it falls into a group of middle children, but because it is pretty unassuming. When you drive this section of Ustick that I'm talking about, it's suburbs. It's suburbs, and it's a few strip malls, it's CPA offices, it's gas stations. It is a lot of it, and so it is pretty unassuming. But there's more there that meets the eye. And I feel like that's the middle child syndrome. I like that comparison a lot. And I think that it is also, once you learn a little bit about the history, which I can go into now, I really recommend from Boise, one of their writers, Sharon Fisher, wrote the best that I could find, historical summary of just the Ustick history. It was named after this doctor, or I should say a doctor founded it. His name was Ustick. And it was kind of an apple orchard area. He also started a streetcar that commuted way out to Meridian and Caldwell. And then it was basically just completely cut down. Its history was just kind of wiped in the 90s and early 2000s when Ustick was expanded to a 5-lane road. There were a ton of trees along that stretch. There were a ton of storefronts and stuff, and it was just kind of wiped. And you can kind of feel that. When you drive that today, you're oh, that's what happened here. And so I feel like it's kind of rebranding itself. It's definitely revitalizing itself. There's literally I think it's called the Ustick Beautification Project that the city and the West Neighborhood Association are working on together.
So Blake, I want to know from your perspective, what makes the Ustick neighborhood unique compared to the rest of Boise?
Yeah, I think it's I mentioned, that history. I think that it has that feel about it of being a place that something happened to, you know what I mean? And so there's some up and coming places. I want to give a nod right off the top to our friends at Common Ground Coffee and Market. They opened in 2023 in this very, very east end of Ustick that we're talking about. And they're really, I feel like without them, I wouldn't have even really considered doing this piece or even really spending much time in Ustick. And so I think that they basically started Common Ground because they could tell that they live in that neighborhood, and they could tell among their neighbors, and they were talking to their neighbors about the need for a community space and the need for a community hub. And so I think that it really has this kind of just do it yourself kind of neighborhood feel to it, which I really like. And also, once you like get to walking around in the Ustick neighborhood, there's a lot of really pretty old houses, like small old houses and old neighborhoods that, at least for me, if I wasn't going to Common Ground and then like going for walks from there, I would never have learned about or never seen. And it's actually a relatively new part of Boise. Like the Ustick neighborhood was actually only annexed into being part of Boise in 1995. And like the whole like revitalization of downtown, like all of that happened in like, downtown was like this destitute place in like the 80s, and like this happened after that. So like this is a pretty young area for Boise, and it only really started to grow, in the 2010s, and then there's been in the late 2010s there's been a revitalization project going on.
So besides Common Ground, what are some of your favorite things to do in the area?
Yeah, I love going to the Idaho Capital Asian Market right there, just a little bit down the road from Common Ground. I think that is just one of like the coolest little hubs that exists in Boise that like once you stumble across it, it's just so cool. Like that market itself is just like an exceptional space. It's just a great grocery store. I think that it's just like a really fun place to go shop for different things that you can't really find many other places in Boise. And then around that, it just has this like, there's just like a big Asian presence in Ustick. And there's like a Korean Baptist church. There is a Korean barbecue place right in there next to the market. And then Mala House, which is a Chinese restaurant right there. Like that in itself is kind of this own unique element that Ustick has to it. And so I think that like that market is truly one of like the highlights. And I'm so frustrated with myself. I haven't been yet. But the market started a new farmer's market that is on every Thursday night that just started at the beginning of this spring.
How do I not know what's happening in this neighborhood?
No, I know. I'm so frustrated that I haven't made it.
Yeah, as a farmer's market aficionado, what? How did I not know about this?
And I love that they're doing it on a non-weekend. Yeah, it's every Thursday night. But I've had multiple readers, like when I wrote this guide, and also I've had a few times where like I've just written, sent out like an events list email. And I've had multiple people be like, hey, you forgot this farmer's market this week, and just like readers who just love it. And so I think it's really doing well. I hope that it's doing well. And I really want to go check it out. So that's got to be on my list. And also I want to shout out the Cole and Ustick Library that's also right there next to the market is one of my favorite libraries in the Boise Public Library system. It's just really well lit. The staff are of course super friendly. And I really like it. It's one of my favorite places to like work from.
The Ustick neighborhood doesn't have access to the Greenbelt and the foothills like other Boise neighborhoods do. So where do residents go to get some outdoor space or some green space?
It's true. Like this is a very suburb feel, and it's kind of like a just deal with it. Like you just got to pack your bags down to the river. Curtis is right there, so it's a really short trip down to the river, like through Garden City. But also I want to shout out another one of my like favorite finds in the area. There are a few different parks, like Winstead Park is kind of attached to this area of Ustick that I'm talking about. But Mountain View Park is kind of one of the cuter little like neighborhood parks that I found. It has this little, it's very short, but it kind of feels longer when you're driving in, but it has this like corridor feel of like these trees lining the street as you drive into it. And then it just has a playground that looks really fun, and it's all like surrounded by people's backyards. And so I think that like the Ustick is a neighborhood that really relies on its like small neighborhood public parks, and then probably just these are folks that probably just like go out to the river, go down to Quince Pond, and kind of boot it to other places to get their outdoor time.
And we've talked a little bit about how it has a very suburban feel. There's been some renewal in the area, but are there some things that were easy to check out without a car, or that were easy to access, on a bike, or does it feel like the neighborhood isn't very accessible if you don't have a car?
Honestly, this is kind of a point against Ustick, and I think that it's because of the wiping out of, widening Ustick into 5 lanes, which obviously needed to happen because it's like such a big artery road now. But I think that this is a big problem. I actually lived in the Winstead neighborhood, area, like when I first moved to Boise for a while, and I'm a runner, and like I would try to run from my house there, and it was like just not super conducive. Like there's just not a ton of sidewalk space. There's a little bit, they've gained a little bit as far as like bike lanes, and so I think that that's beneficial, and there is some Valley Regional Transit bus access. But I think that this is a big area that I think the Ustick wants to develop. Part of that, part of like helping with that is actually the West Boise Neighborhood Association applied to Open Streets Boise, which, do you remember that?
Yeah, it was really, really big, really popular.
It was incredible. It was incredible. So in late September, on Sunday, September 28th, Ustick is going to be the site of the next Open Streets Boise Festival. And so
that's
I think
fantastic. I love it.
It's amazing. So the Boise Bicycle Project, I think, partially selected them because of wanting to like bring that energy and like the public transportation energy to Ustick and kind of be a part of this renewal. And so that's, like I said, on September 28th, it's going to be Ustick will be shut down in the afternoon between Cole Road and Mountain View Drive. So I'm so excited about that. I like immediately just became such a fan of Open Streets Boise. And so I'm excited to talk to those folks here in the next couple weeks to hear more about why they chose Ustick, and just what they hope to happen with that process. And I would also, now that I'm thinking about it, I would love to talk to just more Ustick folks and see how they feel about it and see what they're excited and hope for with that. So yeah, I think that is a point against Ustick, but also like to its credit, I feel like it's trying to work on it.
So Blake, if a friend was visiting for Boise and you're like, no, we're not going to hit downtown. Everybody does downtown. We're actually going to go to Ustick. What 3 spots would you choose to show them so that they could really experience that Ustick vibe, and why?
Immediately, we're going to Common Ground. I think that I love Common Ground. You know, you love them too, and you know that I love them. They have such a Boise feel to them, and I just think that they've done such an excellent job of like, you know, in Boise, like we really want to support each other, and sometimes all that it can take is someone going out on a limb and giving other people a reason to support them. And I feel like Common Ground has done such a good job with that and become such a place to gather, and just given such people such a good reason to be together. And I think that is like such an exciting place for Ustick to be in right now. And the Ustick neighborhood has just totally rallied behind them. So obviously going there first, probably getting a Salty Gal, which is their like caramel latte with salt that like is just so good.
Oh, it's exceptional.
Truly, it's really, really good. They also have a really good Huckleberry Oat Matcha that I also really recommend people try. So we're going there. We're hanging out. We're chit-chatting. This is very much like a place that like you could just strike up a conversation with a stranger and like leave with a new friend, which I don't. That's not my vibe usually, but you totally can at Common Ground.
It has a very community feel, which
it does.
I think we crave in Boise and we don't always find. And so they have successfully found that combination of great community space that also feels like it's building community. So again, bravo. We probably sound like we're being paid. We are not.
No,
we are just super fans.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that once you meet either Lori or Sarah, the owners, or listen to our podcast episode with them or read the interview that I did with them a year ago, like you'll get the vibe. Like they really did that, and I'm so proud of them. Then we're going to hop right over to the Catalyst Arts Collaborative, which is, this artist group that it's an organization that puts together just a really impressive roster of like artistic events, like just DIY painting classes, pottery classes, just so many different things, writing hours that just like, I think that that's a really fun place to go check out. And I think that I'm just excited to see what they continue to do in the artist space in Boise as well. So maybe go hit a class or something there, and then gonna go, down to the Asian market. Maybe go to lunch at one of those places that I mentioned. I went to Mala House yesterday for the first time. It was very, very good. And hit the market and shop around. And I think that those 3 things, they're literally just within like, I could be totally off here, but like a half mile of each other or so, a very short drive. But they really, I feel like, capture a lot of the good stuff of Ustick that I feel like the community is really pouring itself into and investing into growing into the future.
It sounds like a very, maybe what somebody would consider like an under the radar day. Like it's not like the things that make the top of the list, but that would be so much fun. Like I think that would be a great
Totally.
glimpse into Boise. So Blake, I have a two-part question for you. If you could wave a wand, you don't have to go through city council. You don't have to fight the legislature. You just get to wave a wand and you get to change one thing for the Ustick neighborhood. What would it be? But then on the flip side, with all of the growth in Boise, what is one thing you hope doesn't change in that area?
Ooh, this is a good question. I want, and this is maybe just because I want this for every neighborhood, I would love, you know how on the bench, I always forget what this is called. It's like the lateral canal that has been kind of converted into like a mini greenbelt that just like cuts through the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I want that kind of like green space. I want a green belt for Ustick, and not a green belt that is just to connect to other parts of the city, although it totally should do that. But I want something that kind of like establishes a reason to like really enjoy traveling through Ustick, because I think right now it's a very utilitarian neighborhood, and I don't necessarily know that the neighborhood wants to change that. But I think for me, like I would love to be able to like ride my bike through, trees and stuff. And I have such a fondness for Ustick, but I really don't enjoy like driving there. Like it's a 5-lane highway, like through a neighborhood basically. So I would just love to see that varied, even just like to make it more walkable, a little bit more whimsical, like just that fun element. And one thing that I hope doesn't change, I would be afraid to see there are just like so many cute, small, like largely like brick built older houses in the area that I would really hate to see like developed into something not that. Like I would hate to see it kind of like overrun with like the McMansion vibe. That's definitely not going to happen, but like something like that, like cheaper construction. I think that whenever I can just like see some older construction that I'm like, wow, that's actually a quality building and it's nice to look at and it's not just like stucco, I'm like, we have to preserve that. And I think that similarly, like there's just like a lot of older trees in the area. And I think that just does so much to make a neighborhood feel fresh and like a homey space. And so I think that I would just be really, I'm excited about the growth and like the progress that this neighborhood is making, but I am anxious about, I wouldn't want it to be like super redeveloped.
And for newcomers in the area or people just moving in, what are some of the best ways that they could get involved or get plugged into the neighborhood?
The feel of Ustick is that there are a lot of people who have lived there for quite a while, and they're just looking for ways to enact their community. It's not that there's a lot of newcomers coming into the area. And so I think that it can be hard to kind of like find a footing there for those reasons, but it's also a very friendly community. So I think that just going and spending time at some of these places that we talked about, and just enjoying the neighborhood for what it is just... it's just fun. And I think will kind of make you find a new appreciation for this neighborhood, maybe.
Well, Blake, thank you so much. Every time I have you on the show, you have a recommendation for something I've never even heard of, I didn't even know was happening, that I end up loving. So thank you so much for taking the time to come and share your insights into the Ustick neighborhood.
I'm always happy to be here. Thank you, Lindsay.
Before we wrap up, I want to thank Callie S. for becoming a brand new CityCast Boise neighbor. By joining CityCast Boise neighbors, Callie will get perks like ad-free listening, access to members-only events, and more. She says she joined to support local journalism. You can support it too by becoming a member today. Go to membership.citycast.fm. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, make sure and subscribe to our Hey Boise newsletter for even more neighborhood guides. We'll be back tomorrow morning with our Friday News Roundup. Catch you then.